We heard what John Boehner had to say yesterday. There are other members of the caucus who are saying we have never been more united. Do you believe that's true? I understand you're going back to Washington this afternoon, but is your perception that's true? And if so, what does that mean for moving the ball forward?
Well, I don't agree with the Speaker. I think if he puts it to a vote, a clean bill to keep the government running or get it running again would pass. And what usually happens in these votes is it starts out close. You get 20 to 25 Republicans voting for it, almost all Democrats voting for it. And then when it breaks that 217 vote threshold, then you have all other people piling on because they want to be on the winning side of the vote. So it could pass with a much more substantial vote than that, but it would pass, and we could reopen the government and get back to business. But, they are still, maintaining this dug-in position. But as was pointed out, they are shifting in terms of what they want.
Well, let's talk about that, because they're shifting away from Obamacare. They're looking at things like overhauling the tax code, broader reductions to Medicare, Medicaid. Is that where this is headed?
Well, I think at the end of the day, it's a conversation we need to have and a negotiation we need to have. But we can't really have that now because these are really big-ticket items that are going to be tough to resolve. And doing that with the government shut down, with all the people out of work and hurting, with this artificial blow to our economy, is just not a way to govern. And this president not only needs to worry about what's going to happen the time the next debt ceiling is reached or the next fund, but he has to worry about what the next president can contend with. And we can't have a situation where a minority that can't get its way, either at the ballot box or even in a vote in the Congress, shuts the government down or threatens to default if they don't get what they want.
Yeah, and just looking at the government shutdown, which by at least most of us view is certainly the lesser of the two in terms of the evil for the global economy, I think another part of the conventional wisdom was the government shuts down, the Republicans get blamed as more and more people, more and more anger grows throughout the U.S. And you and I were talking before we came on the air. You said you're getting fewer calls to your office than you thought you would. Is this just sort of a fact of that there are centers of federal workers, and if you're not directly affected by it, you may be disgusted with Congress, but not enough that it pushes Congress to do anything?
Well, I think over time, more and more people are affected. So in the initial hours of the shutdown, or when the shutdown was threatening, yes, those districts that had a preponderance of
But time is running out, isn't it?
Time is running out. More people are being affected. The economy is being affected. Clinical trials around the country are being affected. People are seeing how they're affected, and that takes some time, and that generates pressure. And we're seeing the results of that pressure as every day more and more Republicans say, all right, enough. This wasn't a good tactical position to take anyway. Give us a clean vote and we will reopen the government. So that public pressure is important. It is changing the dynamic. It is amazing to me, though, that the GOP is holding on to this kind of burn the house down strategy as long as it has. I'm convinced if we didn't have these repeated economic crises every 3 or 6 months, our economy would have recovered a year ago, and we would be in a much better place.
Well, all this, of course, started, as we've said so many times, about Obamacare. The rollout started last week. They were expecting 50 to 60,000 users at any given time. Instead, they got 250,000. So Saturday, I've had a little fun with it. Let me play it.
Loser, the Obamacare website, which had technical issues all week because of too much web traffic. You can't campaign on the fact that millions don't have health care and then be surprised that millions don't have health care. How could you not be ready? That's like 1-800-Flowers getting caught off guard by Valentine's Day.
Fair question, though, why this website wasn't prepared for more traffic?
It's a perfectly fair question, and it's excruciatingly frustrating because, here was this big rollout, here was this big day, and you get all this traffic that you can't accommodate. So, I'm certain that people are going to be looking at the IT folks and saying, what were you thinking? And it's a missed opportunity because you can't get back those.
Are you worried that people are frustrated and just won't go back? I mean, you heard stories about people getting shut out, people who spent more than 2 hours couldn't figure out the paperwork.
Well, I am concerned about it. It's true, though, if you look at Massachusetts, which had a similar model, people don't enroll the first time they go on the site. Very few do. They need to go back and shop and compare. So at the end of the day, hopefully it won't have much of an impact. But there are going to be certain people turned off, and there are others that are going to say, well, I'm going to wait because it's too crowded and too difficult to get online right now. I hope those problems have been fixed, but very frustrating and embarrassing.
Congressman Schiff, I know you're heading back into session. You're heading back to D.C. Thank you for stopping by. Really